John, stay with me. Wake up!
Coming through.
How bad is it?
He has burns to 100% of his body.
Want to send out a special hello tonight to a certain young man who's laid up in the hospital. His name is John O'Leary. He's a tough little guy.
Boy, you listen to me. You will walk again.
When I first came to see you, they said you had no chance. But here you are. You're gonna face challenges when you get out of here, but you can still do almost anything.
Do you like to dance, Beth?
No, but I will.
Who is that guy? John O'Leary. He's kind of a legend around here.
Why didn't you ask me out the night we met?
Figured you wouldn't want me to. Welcome to the first project of O'Leary and Bright's construction.
Yeah, everybody grab a hard hat.
Ladies first?
No. Why would a man who can't hold a hammer choose to be a contractor?
I guess I like to just see houses for what they can be, not what they are.
I have a scout troop, and I heard about what happened to you. I just thought that my girls might be inspired if you came and talked to them.
Oh, wow. I may have an idea for a way that we could work together.
Public speaking? I hope you got better at it.
I know what it feels like to think you've probably thrown your life away.
If you focus exactly on loving the life that you're living right now, not the life that you think you could have had or should have had, that's the whole deal right there.
Everything that you did, why me?
Seemed like you needed it.
You built a good life out of ashes. Remarkable.
Well, John, what a blessing it is to get some time with you and hear more about the man behind the film that I am so eager. At the moment we're talking here, the film has not yet been released. So how are you sitting? How are you mentally preparing for this to be played out on the big screen?
Carly, be where your feet are. And so you and I, right before we hit record, we're talking about baseball and kids and home runs and strikeouts and injuries and overcoming. You got that going on in your family. I've got stuff going on with mine. And in every season, we give thanks. Yeah. And so this is a wild season we're in right now. Obviously, there's a film coming out about our life. I didn't have that on my bingo card a couple years ago. And yet here we are on the dawn of it. And it's just more evidence of God's grace, period. This isn't my hard work and my nice network. This is God loving folks and reminding his kids that he's still at work.
I love that. How much of a say did you have with the script? How true is the film and kind of how things, because I realize obviously Hollywood and filmmaking, they're trying to tell your whole life in 2 hours. That's not an easy job.
Yeah. So the beautiful thing is when the folks approached me 8 years ago with this idea, I gave them permission, but never thought that it would actually happen. So I was able to kind of wash my hands and just move on with life. And my wife was good with that and the kids and all of us. And then it starts to happen, that. We didn't really see that happening. I never thought it would work. So once we realized it's going to work, we wanted to be involved significantly. We wanted the script to be accurate. We wanted it to be life-giving. We wanted the people who participated as the actors to have our belief system, our core, our value, and our love of one another, and they did. We wanted the director to be a fierce lover, not only of storytelling and of Jesus, but also of the ordinary folks in theaters who are in and out in 90 minutes, and he wants to bless them during that time. His name is Sean McNamara. He's done movies like Reagan and Soul Surfer and Bow and 100 others. And ultimately, what I'll say is this. I didn't know anything about this process at all, obviously. So I flew out to Hollywood to meet with Sean. And I said, Sean, why do you do what you do? Because I wasn't sure yet if we should really give a green light to this project. And Sean looked off to the left, and then he started to cry. And then he kept crying, and then he wiped the tears, and then he said, John, and he started talking about his family of origin and the struggles that they faced and the struggles we in the world face right now. And the desire on his heart, Hollywood is always putting forward garbage. He's like, I want to put forward life-giving material, true stories about true individuals, true heroes, reminding people that there's true hope for tomorrow. And I hear that from Sean, And I realized, man, I can get behind this guy, a man who wants to tell stories like that. I'll believe he'll tell this story well too.
And that's what this story is. It's such a good example of life application, right? Like, what do we do when tragedy strikes? How can we love others in the day to day when it's always not easy, when it's hard for us? That's all. And this is your whole life has been a perfect example, not only of how you have responded, but of how people have responded to you.
Well, I'm glad you framed it like that. When the director and the associates all said we need to start inviting the talent, the actors, they nominated John O'Leary as the one making doing the reach out. And so I reached out to Devon Franklin and I said, Devon, you're about to play a nurse who might be underpaid and might be overlooked, but I am not alive and I'm not walking into life without this man named Roy. Devon, will you play a hero in my film? And he said yes. And then John Corbett, I said, John, you're about to play a man who he raised 6 kids, got Parkinson's disease, dealt with 2 house fires, and through it all remained faithful and joyful and on fire with love. He's my dad. Will you do us the honor and be a hero in the film? And so up and down the line, I invited each person, told them their role, why it mattered, and told them they were the hero. And then it came to Joel Courtney. So I said, Joel.
A brilliant choice, though. And he does look like, I think it's the perfect fit. Was he, did right away, or did they come to you and say, hey, why don't you reach out to Joel?
A little bit of both. And with Joel, I said, good news, bad news, man. And this story is a redemptive, faithful story about overcoming the impossible, about miracles still happening. It's packed with heroes. But the only problem, Joel, is you don't play one of them. You play this floundering fool who's a bit addicted, who struggles with self-worth, who wonders why he was saved in the first place, doesn't know the right words to say at the right time. And yet at the very end of the story, if you hang on for the ride, this kid finally recognizes that God has worked through all things, even in his own life. So Joel, if you want to play a character like that, man, come on. And so Joel did say yes. And as you hinted at, he did a masterful job.
There's been different avenues. You've had books that have come out. I've seen, the MLB did a wonderful piece, on you and the Buck family as well. But I'm so excited that, I just want more people, because if you don't get the faith story in there, if you don't, that's at the core is what it is. God is still doing miracles, and he does miracles through people. We are the hands and
Amen.
Feet of Jesus.
That's one of the coolest things. As I look at this film, like who's the hero? Who did God use most clearly? And I bet if you went with a family of 8 to the film, all 8 of you would have different answers at the end of it. And the cool thing about that is it means he used them all. And if that's true, because this is a true story, if that's true in this ordinary family's life, after being burned on his entire body, after the siblings showed up and the parents and the janitor and the nurses and you mentioned Jack Buck and everybody else, if they all were the hands and feet of Christ, what does that say about you and me and the 3rd grade class and your son's 11-year-old baseball team and everybody else? It means we don't have to wait. We recognize now when we look in the mirror, he's using us. He's broken old us. He's able to use us.
What's your hope for this film? As people and families go and see it together, what do you hope they're still talking about when they leave? And again, what I love about films, they're in the theater. We're going to pray it has a great opening weekend, and then it goes to streaming, and it's just, the life legacy of even films, can go on for a long time. What do you hope that message is that people, when they leave the theater, when they're done watching it, that they're still remembering and they take with them?
So for me, I think it's 2 things right now. The first thing is that used to be numbers, millions and commas and I don't care. I think Christ did an awful lot with 12. So I'm not as worried about the numbers, but I hope it impacts the right people the right way to do the next right thing. So that's part of it, that the right people are touched in the right way. And if that scales to numbers, awesome. But in the right way, we keep people alive. We need that right now. 1.3 million Americans attempted suicide last year. We need a message of hope, of resiliency, of faithfulness, of family, of love, of truth. So that's part of it. Secondly, this is going to make me cry, so prepare yourself. But my hero in life is my dad. And if you've read my book or my story or you saw the film, my dad raised 6 kids. He served his country in the military, loves Christ, guided us through troubles, all of us in our own ways. All 6 of us had our own things. I got burned, so that's a story, but everybody dealt with something. Then he gets Parkinson's disease, struggles for 33 years. And on May 15th, he and I have the opportunity of watching Soul on Fire together. There was a company that wanted to buy 3,000 tickets, but they wanted to see the film ahead of time. So I pick up my dad, get him into his little wheelchair. We roll into the theater. He sits down next to me. The entire time he holds my hand. So we're just holding hands for an hour and 43 minutes. That is too long to hold anybody's hand, but Dad holds my hand for an hour and 43. And at the end of it, I said, Dad, everyone's applauding, which is pretty cool when people are applauding a film. I said, Dad, what do you think about your movie? My dad, who's wheelchair bound and just about nonverbal and always in pain, whispers to me, what a gift. What a gift. And he wasn't reviewing the film. I think he was having a little bit of a life review. So I get him back in the car, take him home. 3 days later, he comes down with a little bit of a virus, not a big deal. Then he ends up in the bed a few days later, never comes out of it. And on May 30th, my dad is called home. The final words I heard my dad speak to me were, what a gift. So what do I hope people leave this theater with? I hope they leave singing that in their lives. They may not have been burned. They may not have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. They may not have had 2 house fires or a million other struggles that we talk about in the film and in our lives, but they have endured struggle. And Job reminds us, the Lord gives, the Lord takes, blessed be the name of the Lord. In every season, let us rejoice. And so if you can walk out of that theater or roll like my sweet dad did, God bless him. If you can roll out of that theater proclaiming, what a gift, not my life or my film, but yours. Man, that is mighty. And so my hope is that we get to pivot a little bit from the negativity in the marketplace to the reckoning that your story is being redeemed now, not later, not maybe, hopefully one day if you do the right things the right way. He's using it now. And if you know that to be true, how could you not rejoice and say, what a gift?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. What is that next step? Let's say, as you mentioned, I think there are a lot of people hurting in this world. I think the timing of this film is also, God's sovereign plan, where hope is needed now more than ever. People are willing, I think, to look and maybe grab onto it. What's the next step? Sometimes it takes us a little bit harder for our emotions to catch up where we know we should be.
Yes.
What would you recommend for that next step to be if someone is struggling and says, yes, I want to find purpose in my suffering?
I mean, first of all, you should recognize that everyone through Scripture wrestled too, and sometimes literally wrestled. So the idea of wrestling is not new, foreign, or wrong. I actually think it's healthy. So if you are currently in a wrestling match, you may not be in the wrong place. I spent a couple decades wrestling. So the wrestle's okay. Our God can wrestle back lovingly. So wrestle. The second thing I would say, though, is, and maybe it's time to stop wrestling by yourself. One of the realizations for John in his life and in the film Soul on Fire is he'd been trying to prove to the world that he was enough. And it's amazing what happens when you stop trying and you lean into those around you. You let them love you and lift you up and walk forward with them. There's just tender blessing after tender blessing in this film about community stepping forward and guiding John up. And so if you're wrestling right now and you're doing that by your own, that's okay. But take a breath and then reach out. So that's the second thing that I might encourage people to do, is to reach out to someone else, whether it's AA, a pastor, someone at church, a neighbor, a sibling, even someone you haven't spoken to in years. It's amazing what happens when people hear the words, hey, I know it's been a while, but can you help? So I would ask for help. I did, and it made a big difference. The third thing is I would not give up on hope. I think having a dream for tomorrow is so important. Having a cool vision for your life. It may not be a beach house. It may not be whatever else like that vision is for the world, but a vision for your life and how God will use your life in mighty ways. And the fourth thing, listen, our work, our little organization is, you and I have been kind of doing life for a while, so you know this about us. the louder our megaphone gets, the more we want to do life with individuals. So I'm not here to build armies. We're here to love one. Love people at the well. Like the whole film, in fact, is basically a love letter to meet someone else at the well where they are. On our website, man, like that's my address, that's my number, that's my email. And so if you are wrestling and you're on your own and you don't know where to turn next, go to johnolearyinspires.com. My email's there, my number's there. The answer is yes. We're here to love each other. And had I not had people love me, you and I would not be having this conversation right now, because I don't think I'd be actively engaged.
What is your ministry right now? What is, you mentioned your website. Where is your heart? How are you kind of, spending your days when you're not on the set of a movie and doing that and writing books? I mean,
Well,
what does life look like for you?
the good news is there's no sequel. So if you guys are like, hey, I think I'll see Soul on Fire Part 2, it ain't coming. All right. So if you're like, I'll wait
You
till
don't
next
know
summer.
that. God's not done writing your
God
story
is
yet.
done with me. God is done with the movie version of me. I'm telling you that right now. My marriage is too important. So let me start there. Like I'm a husband to Beth, 21 years. I'm raising 4 kids, Jack, Patrick, Henry, and Grace. We got a dog. I'm loving on my mom, who's now a widow for the first time after 64 years. There's a lot of things I got to do well at home. So that's my ministry. If I do everything else well and I lose that piece of me, what was the point of it? So my ministry starts at home with those kids and with their mom and with my mom. So that's number one. Secondly, our work primarily is in the secular world. So like today, I'm taking this call from Atlanta. I live in St. Louis, but I'm in Atlanta. I'm about to speak at a sales organization. Question number 13 on the survey is, what topics do you not want John to talk about? And they always write down 2, politics and faith. Always, unless it's a church community. But if it's secular, please don't be divided. Don't light half the room on fire negatively. Don't talk politics. Don't talk faith. And an hour and 10 minutes after today starts, I will get hug after hug of people coming up to me today saying, thank you for evangelizing. Thank you for being unafraid. Thank you for sharing Jesus. Thank you for loving us at the well. Those are from the friends who are believers. And then from the friends who aren't, they line up and they say, man, you got to tell me more about the reason for joy in your heart. And then I get to tell them about Jesus. We invite all of them into our community. We have a podcast where I interview guys like Mac Powell from Third Day. So Mac's afraid now, and his song plays out in the film Soul on Fire. So
Which, by the way, I mean, it's just such a perfect match. I mean, y'all must have been like, wait, this was written for us. Like, I mean, that had to have been a God thing too.
And the whole thing is a God thing. You guys my book is called On Fire. The movie was called On Fire. Then last summer, some doggone guy rolls out a film called On Fire. So we have to pivot. And we pivot into the final 3 words spoken in the film. And it's from a quote, an old World War I general named Foch. And so I'm not going to tell you what was happening in the movie, because you will cry your eyes out. But it happened in a beautiful way, like beautiful tears. So it's 2 characters on screen. Something beautiful is taking place. And there's a voiceover from Joel, who plays John O'Leary. And the quote is, the most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. Well, that's how the movie ended. And then it was going to be like a Neil Diamond song or something. But now it ends with that cool drum beat of Third Day kicking in. And right as Joel says, Soul on Fire, Mac Powell kicks off. And that decision to change the title of the film changed the entire hierarchy of where this thing is going, from being, in some regards more secular, to being unabashedly faith-filled and faith-centric. So I think it's so cool. Like today, I'll be promoting the film to this big secular room. And whether they are in the front row of a church on Sundays, the back row, or they haven't been inside one for decades, they will check out this film in all likelihood. And they will walk out of that film on fire, inspired, connected, and inquisitive of how God can use them in their lives too. So I think with Mac Powell's help and Sony's help and Sean McNamara's help and our great actors, we've created a very faith-friendly film that allows access into it from those who might not otherwise enter in. And by the way, that sounds like Jesus's ministry a little bit. He's a I mean, people forget, like, he's a rabbi. And you look where he teaches. It's almost always at wells, in marketplaces, in big fields. In other words, the synagogue certainly held a close place in Christ's heart, obviously. And yet his recorded words frequently were spoken in the secular marketplace. And then he drew them in.
I just love you, John. I could just stay talking with you forever. Thank you for continuing to share your story and for being vulnerable and just letting God use you as a vessel. It really is a blessing to kind of watch how your life has unfolded. I know every step hasn't been easy, and that's okay. We need to be honest about that as well. But man, again, your story is not done yet. So I don't know. There may be something down the line where you get a sequel. I'm just saying, never say never.
I'm telling you right now, Carly, go now. Part 2 is not coming out.
Maybe there's a spinoff though.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. We do a lot of work with prisoners and wounded veterans, and every one of these guys has a story better than mine.
Oh,
every one of them.
Could be a TV series.
Wouldn't that be cool to have like the Soul On series? And so stay tuned for that.
But, okay.
Listen, if it keeps people engaged and inquisitive and leaning into their faith and trying to serve the one in front of them, I'm all in. Like this story, and then I'll be quiet. But when they first did the poster, it was a picture of John O'Leary on front of it with his arms in the air. Like, look at me, hear me roar, come to the film about me. So I wrote him back and I'm like, hey, Sony, watch the film. It's not about John. It's not about the little kid who got burned or what he became. Watch the film. And now if you look at the poster, they turned John around. So I always tell Joel now, like, hey, they got your best side, man, the back side. So they turned him around. You can't see him. He's a silhouette. And if you look a little closer, the entire movie poster is made up of the mosaic of everybody else who was part of this little boy's miracle. So what's next for us is to remind people that their life can be used for good. What's next for us is to remind people that God's not done yet in this world. We spend so much time in the headlines. And I encourage our leaders, viewers, get back into the Word. Get back into the Word. God will use this season. And knowing that should bring you profound peace. It doesn't make the heartache fade. But man, it gives us hope for tomorrow.
The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire.